Hey everyone, it's Helen from SMB Deal Hunter. Today we have Andres Martínez with us, an entrepreneur who acquired an auto body shop in Utah. Really looking forward to hearing Andres' story. It's great to have you on today.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. As I told you, this is my first podcast in English. So for those that are listening, thanks for your patience and hope this helps you a little bit.
First, tell us about your background. You mentioned the first podcast in English. Where are you from?
Yeah.
I know a little bit, but tell the audience.
Yeah. So I'm from Mexico. I was born in Mexico City. My family moved to the north of Mexico. It's a place called Torreón, Coahuila. And I've lived there my whole life basically. And in 2021, I moved to the U.S. My wife is from the U.S., so we moved here. And since then, I've been in the U.S. In my background, I didn't go to college. I mean, kind of thing. I went and then I dropped off. But I've been very interested in investing, entrepreneurship. Since I was a kid, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I've opened multiple businesses. Most of them are being like failures, but I've learned of all of them a little bit. So that's kind of like my background. I'm 27 years old, so I don't have
Love
like a
that.
lot of experience, but I've been in the entrepreneurship journey for, I mean, since I was probably 15 years old, something like that.
I love that. What were some of tell us about some of the failures. I always love
Yeah,
hearing about those.
yeah. I feel like most of the businesses that I opened, I think the problem wasn't the business itself. It was me. It was myself. I think I didn't have a lot of experience, and I feel like, for example, one was a food truck that I opened in Mexico, and I thought the food truck will be very successful because I thought it was a great idea and all that. But it I feel like being in the restaurant industry, it's tough. And when you're competing with big companies, it's hard to compete with them on a price point, like a standpoint. So I think one of the things that I didn't realize is that in the US, at least, it's hard to have a food truck because everything is very formal. But because I thought that in Mexico, you don't need to be very formal to open a place, I thought, oh, it's gonna be successfully in the US, for example. So that was actually my first business in the US. I opened a food truck, and it didn't go well. I mean, it did at the beginning, but at the end, I was struggling. And then at that moment, I decided to jump on the business acquisition uh, side. But yeah, I mean, it was a food truck. I opened multiple places when I was living in Mexico as well, and they didn't work. So so now I'm
What
here.
and what made you decide to, pivot from start opening these food trucks now to buying businesses? Like what was was there like an epiphany or how did you sort of get into it?
No, so when I opened this food truck, my father-in-law, which I feel like he is kind of like my mentor, he is a successful business owner. He owns different dental practices. He always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So he invited me to one of Tony Robbins conference. I don't know if you have heard of Tony Robbins. I bet you. But for
Yeah.
those that never listened to him, he is one of the top business coaches kind of thing. And he has a conference in Miami. He has multiple conferences, but one that is kind of like business mastery, I think it's called. And he invited me to Miami. So I went to the conference, and during the conference, there are multiple speakers, not only Tony Robbins, but multiple. And one of the speakers, his name is Keith Cunningham. And during this session, he started to talk about buying and selling businesses. And when I was listening to that, it was in English. So I was like, am I hearing right? Like, what, what he's telling me is that I can buy a business and that I can make money from day one. That was like mind blowing for me, like that was new for me. Because in Mexico, you don't hear anything of like you can buy a business. That's something for like big companies, not for like normal people like me. So when he he said that I was paying a lot of attention. I was like, I have to make sure that what I'm hearing is what I'm hearing. You know? So then he went to the financing side. How can you get the money to pay for the deal? And then he started talking about the SBA. And I was like, you're telling me that I can buy a business, putting 10% down, and I can get a loan for the remaining 90%? And I was like, what's going on here? Like, this is very interesting. And at that point, we were struggling with the food truck. Um, so after the session, I talked to my father-in-law and I was like, I feel like I want to go all in into this. And then he was like, you should. Then I came back, he texted me and he said, like, you should read this book. Someone recommended me this book. And I don't remember exactly the book, if I'm honest with you, but that book was great for me to start learning more about this entrepreneurship through acquisition. And then I talked to my wife and I was like, I think I'm gonna sell the food truck. I think I want to go all in into this. And that's how I decided to jump into it.
Wow, great story. I
Yeah.
love that's amazing. You never know, it's cool because every time I go to a conference, before a conference, I'm always like, oh, do I really want to go to a conference? But you kind of never know who you're gonna meet, what
Mhm.
information you're gonna get. So I love that.
Yeah.
I guess you knew at this point you were gonna dive in. What did your search look like? Did you have like a thesis going in of like, I want to buy this type of business,
You
this
know,
size, this industry, or how did that work?
Yeah, that's interesting. So when I came back from the conference, I talked to one of my friends that he is actually my business partner, and at that point we weren't friends. That's what I'm trying to say. We were more like people that we knew that I knew that he likes businesses because he used to own two food trucks as well. So we met in the food industry. So I talked to him and I was like, I learned this. And then he told me like, I learned something similar on a conference that I went. And I was like, well, you should read this book. And I gave him the book that my father-in-law gave me. And after he read it, I was like, man, I want to go all in into this. Do you want to go with me? He was like, yeah, let's do it. So then we got together and we were like, well, what kind of businesses we want to buy? And we're like, maybe let's start with something small, probably like in the 50,000, 100,000, 150,000 EBITDA or SDE. So that's when we really, really were like, okay, so how do we find businesses? And we're like, well, let's just go and find on let's go and look on Google. So then that's how we found Biz by Sell, and we start searching through the search bar, and we were like, let's go for small deals, $150,000 on EBITDA. Um, let's see if we can find something in construction because I also own a construction company in Mexico. So I know a little bit more on the construction side. And I used to do real estate as well. So in Mexico, so I was like, maybe if we find something on in the real estate construction side, maybe we can make something work. He knew about the automotive industry, so we were like, let's look for that as well. So if I'm honest with you, at the beginning we started to look for landscaping companies, construction companies, fencing companies, plumbing, all that stuff, home services basically. Um, and that's how we started, like small businesses, tiny, like 100,000, 150,000 in EBITDA, and in the construction, automotive, and this kind of industries.
And then where did that lead you? How did your thesis kind of pivot over time? What were some of the deals you started pursuing?
Yeah,
What was the size of the business you ended up buying, and
yeah.
how did you end up getting there?
Yeah. So the first business I remember that we actually met with the owner and we started to negotiate a little bit was a landscaping company. It was small. I think it was around between the well, first we noticed that it was really hard to buy a business with 100,000, 150,000 EBITDA. It was a lot of risk, you know. So we were like, you know, let's go for something bigger. So then we jumped to $200,000, $300,000 in EBITDA, and that's when we found this landscaping company. But the broker was very like pushy, you know. He wanted to close fast, quick, and I understand the reason behind it, but I think he was a little bit too much like pushy, you know. Um, so that's when we um, decided to not move forward with that on that deal. Then we found a construction company, and the deal was like $2 million transaction, and we were very interested into it, you know. And we met the owner and all, and we started negotiating with him. It was through a broker as well, and we sent him an offer close to the 2 million, and he didn't want to accept it. So we started negotiating with him a lot, actually. And at some point, he didn't want to accept the offer. It was very hard to work with him. Um, and we decided to not move forward on that deal, you know. And from that, we started to talk with talking to multiple business owners, and we went to Google. We started cold email, calling them and trying to find something, you know. And it was hard, and it was hard. One thing that I remember, and I've never said this before, is that one day we were very close to close this deal for us. I feel like, you know, and I was thinking, you know, Daniel, because Daniel is my business partner, we should go and ask more questions about the SBA. Like, how can we get a loan? Because at that point we didn't know anything, you know. So I was like, we should go to the bank that is down the street and let's go ask for all the requirements and all that stuff. Okay, yeah, let's go. So we went and we got in, and then a lady came and, are you guys looking for something? Can I help you? And I was like, yeah, we're looking for information about the SBA. We want to get an SBA loan. Okay, yeah, give me just a second. Then a guy came to us, and he was like, yeah, please come into my office and let's talk. Okay, yeah, sounds good. We sit down, and then he was like, okay, you guys tell me, what are you looking for? So we started like saying, like, you know, we have this business, we want to buy this business, this is the loan that we want to get, and blah, 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 blah. And then after a couple minutes, he was like, okay, let me ask you something, guys. Do you guys own a home? We're like, well, no, not yet. Okay. Do you guys have a job? Well, kinda. I mean, I own a food truck. He owns two food trucks, so kinda. Okay. Do you guys have any other assets? Well, not really. And then he was, okay, how old are you? Well, I think at that point I was 25. I'm 25 or 24, and my business partner was 25. And he was like, okay, what other experience, guys? What other experience you guys have? Well, I'm from Mexico. He's also from Mexico. He's a US citizen. We both are very entrepreneurs. But we couldn't say like something like that he was convinced that we had experience, you know? So then he was like, you know, guys, I'm gonna tell you something. And we're like, okay, I think you are too young to try to buy a business, you know? I think you should go out, find a job, get a little more experience, buy a house, get more assets, and then in the future you can try to buy a business, you know? And that was hard for us. Like that was
Wow.
tough. That was tough. Because I mean we were like 25 years old guys, like just there, and this guy telling us that we were too young and it was hard. I mean, and I think I don't blame him for telling us that, because I think on his point or on his shoes, having two guys that they don't have any assets, not a lot of experience, no house, no jobs, food trucks. I mean, it's hard to say yes to give you a loan, you know. So I understood the reason behind he telling us or saying that, you know. But we were like, you know, we need to find a bank that is gonna give us a loan. So we felt a little bit sad at the beginning, but then we're like, you know, this was just one bank. let's go and find the right bank for us, and we can make it work. Because at the end, it focused more on the business than on the buyers. So let's just find a good business, and then we can go from there. So the pavers company didn't work. The construction company didn't work. Then we keep looking, and I was going through Biz by Sell, and at some point, on one of the pages, I think it was on the fifth or sixth page, um, I found this business, a body shop. That was pretty interesting. So I clicked there, I requested the info, and a couple days after, the broker, it was through a broker, he contacted me, and everything worked very, very well. He sent us the SIM and all that stuff, and we liked the business. We met the owner. It was a $1.3 million deal, 400,000, close to the 500,000 EBITDA, you know. Um, so everything worked well. We look at the business. The owner was really, really nice. We clicked very well.
That's
Yeah,
huge. That's
yeah,
uncommon.
we have a really good relationship with him, and everything worked really, really well with the deal.
Wow, amazing. Can I ask, so what jumped out at you about this deal? You obviously you looked at a bunch of deals. What jumped out at you with this one?
Yeah, so first, the financials were very clear. I feel like, I mean, more clear than the other ones that we saw. The second, the owner, I think the way we clicked with the owner, and the way he was with us, he was very open with us or to us. Um, I think that was the main thing. When we met him and we talked to him, he was very honest with us, very transparent. He was like, I want you guys to succeed. If you want to buy this place, I want you guys to succeed. And I feel like that's the main thing for us. We felt that this was the right one because of him. He was willing to help us. He didn't want to just cash out and leave, like most of the owners out there right now. So I think that was the main thing for us.
And how did you tell us about sort of how you ran your diligence? Once you got under LOI, what did you do after that?
So after the LOI, we're like, we need a CPA, we need an accountant, we need to find someone that can help us with the due diligence. So I posted on Twitter. I asked friends, and for some reason I found this CPA that he was really, really, really nice. And one of the main things is that we noticed that financial due diligence was very expensive. Like, quality of earnings was very expensive. It was like between 25,000 to 30,000. So we're like, oh, we don't want to spend that much because we didn't have money to spend on that. So we're like, let's just find someone that is kind of new, but that can give us a little bit more of information on it. So we found this accountant on Facebook, and he is actually from Utah. So that's one thing that we liked. And we worked very well with him. Now in the legal due diligence, that's when I think I met you, right? I think I asked you, hey, do you have someone that you can refer me to me, or something like that? I don't remember how we connected. But you sent me this link, and I talked to this company, and this company referred me to this attorney, and everything worked really, really well. So that's how we transitioned from the LOI to the due diligence phase, and everything worked well. Yeah.
So everything came out pretty clean out of
Yeah.
diligence. Wow, amazing.
Yeah, very clean, and we were very happy
And the
to
negotiations were smooth.
yeah, I think we could close sooner than we did, and for some reasons. I mean, we had the bank. Each party have or had their own accountant, their own attorney, plus the broker. So I feel like there were a lot of people involved on the deal. So I think we could close faster if we could only have the buyer and the seller, and their accountant and their attorney. Kind of thing. Like, we
There's
could
just a
close
lot
it
of
fast.
parties.
A lot
Yeah.
of parties involved. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, that's interesting. What'd you do with, did you go SBA on this deal in the end? Did you, did I know the first lender is very discouraging, which is interesting because I think when you go, a lot of people do what you did, right? They just walk into a bank down the block and they're like, I want an SBA loan. But a lot of people don't realize that there are banks that specialize in doing the 7A loans and they
Yeah,
look at the business's cash flows, not your personal assets. So I'm
right.
curious where you ended up there.
Yeah, so when we sent the LOI for the body shop, um, we didn't have any idea of how we're gonna fund it. We're like, man, I mean, we need to find the right bank. Like, it's hard. It's gonna be hard. So we talked to different banks, and all of them were like, "You're too young. You need collateral." And we're like, "Oh, shit, how are we gonna do it?" Then I was like, let me talk to my father-in-law. Let me see if he wants to be our partner or investor in this deal. So I talked to him and I showed him the business. We showed him the business, and he was very excited with it. And he was like, "Yeah, I want to be part of it. I can come up with the down payment." And we're like, "Okay, well, thanks for that, but we really need a bank." So he was like, I've done deals with this bank. And I was like, "Okay, what's the name of the bank?" "Oh, Live Oak Bank." And I was like, "Oh, great. Okay." So he was like, "Yeah, let me get in touch. Let me get you in contact with the person that I know, and they can probably give you or they can probably refer you to the Department of Automotive Industry." Okay, sounds good. So that's how it worked. Because
Wow.
when the Live Bank looked at my father-in-law, and he saw they saw that he was part of the deal, and they were like, "Okay, yeah, we can fund this deal," and that's how everything worked out with the bank. Yeah, we went through the SBA, and it worked. Yeah.
And how did you structure the deal with the seller?
So we asked him for a 10% seller note, okay? And the rest was a SBA loan. And this is going to be very interesting. We wanted to buy the business with the least amount of down payment that we could put down, you know? Um, so because of the relationship that my father-in-law had with the bank, and because the owner was willing to give us a 10% seller note, the bank came back with a really aggressive offer. They were like, we can fund this deal and you can only put 1% down. It's
Wow.
you're telling me that I can put 15,000, because it was 200,000 for working capital as well, so it was 1.5 million. Okay, so we can put 15,000 into this deal. And we're like, okay, let's do it.
That's
So
crazy.
we did it. We did it. We put 15,000 down. And it was hard on the broker side, because we were like, you guys want to buy this business with 15,000 down, and you want my seller to give you a 10% seller note. It's hard for him to do that because you don't have any skin in the game. We're like, come on, man. Like, we have a loan, a $1.5 million dollar loan. That's enough skin in the game. We can close the deal. Just say yes, and we can move forward. And after a couple email back and forth, um, he was okay. Yeah, let's do it. And that's how we close.
That is
1% down.
1% down. And that was mostly just because of the relationship your father-in-law had with the
Yep.
bank.
Yep.
That's
Hmm.
never heard
Yep.
of that. That's very impressive. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Well, look, tell us about the business more. We've spoken a lot about your journey buying the business, but tell us more about the business itself. What does it do now that you're running it? Obviously, you have a much clearer sense. How long has it been, by the way, since you closed? And
In July, it's gonna be almost a year. Almost
wow,
a year. So our first year is coming in July. And it's been great. I mean, the business is a body shop. We do mostly collision repair. Um, we work with all the insurance companies. Um, in the body shop industry, on the collision industry, there's two kind of body shops. The body shops that are DRPs, or preferred shops for insurance companies. They have a contract with the insurance companies, and they basically work for them. So the insurance companies feed them with work, and they have to do the best for the insurance company, or at least try to save them money, you know. And the other ones, the ones that are not a preferred shop for them, they're kind of called independents. So they look for the best for the customer itself, for the owner of the car. They work with all the insurance companies, but they don't have a contract with them. So we are an independent body shop right now. We work for a customer, for our client, the owner of the car, and not for the insurance companies. So we have right now, I think we are 11 employees in the business right now. Last year we made, I think we did close to 2 million in revenue. Um, and Yeah, I mean, we have 11 employees, close to 2 million in revenue, and we're getting close to our first year.
Amazing. And in terms of the two kinds of body shops you brought up, now that you're kind of in the industry, if you went out to buy another one would you, which type of shop would you focus on? And what are some of the things you would look for?
I think one thing that we would look for is a body shop that at least has the key employees in place, because we didn't know how many hats the owner, I mean the seller was wearing at the time. We thought, we could just replace him, and it's gonna be easy. But then we realized that he was wearing a lot of hats. So we were like, maybe in the next deal we will look for a business, a body shop that has at least the key employees in place. That's the estimator, a body tech, a CSR, or an assistant in the office, and a painter. Those four are what we consider. And probably a manager. But if they don't have a manager, we can just put a manager in place, and that's gonna be fine. But the owner was wearing a lot of these hats, so it was hard to replace him. So that's one thing that we didn't um, pay more, like, a lot of attention when we were doing the due diligence, and that's something that we will look for in the future.
Oh, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
tell us about sort of when you first transitioned into the business, what
Yeah.
that looked
So
like.
yeah. So before we close the deal and before we actually send an LOI, I talked to my business partner, and I told him, man, because he has a automotive technology degree, something like that, and he is very smart. Like, he is the more analytic guy that I know. Like, he is very, very smart with numbers and with math and all that stuff, and he knew a lot of, I mean more of this industry than what I did. And so when we sent the LOI, and we were getting close to close the deal, I talked to him and I was like, man, I like the deal, but I want you to know that I don't know anything about cars. So if we're gonna close this deal, you're gonna be doing most of the work, because you know more about the cars. And I'll be honest with you, Helen, I didn't know anything about cars. Like, I didn't know, like, literally what a fender was, what a bumper was, what a hood was. I didn't know anything about cars. So I talked to him and I was, we can close the deal, man, but you're gonna do most of the work. You're gonna be the one that is gonna be kind of replacing the owner right now, because I can help you, but it's gonna take me a little while to learn. So we closed the deal. We came the first day, and I was just literally shadowing the previous owner and my business partner. I was just literally, like, just trying to understand everything about it. And I'll be honest with you, because Spanish is my first language, and I didn't know anything about the industry in the automotive industry. I had no clue during the first day what they were talking about. I was like, I don't know what they're talking about, but if he understands, that's okay. If he understands it, then he translate that to me in Spanish, I think I'm gonna be fine. So the first one was kind of tough for me, because I was literally just here, seeing my business partner doing everything. Um, but everything worked well. He was very patient with me, and he is very nice. So we closed the deal. We came in and we talked to the old employees. We told them that we want to keep them in the business, that we want to help them feel um, happy, that they enjoy their their jobs, and that we don't want to do any changes, that we would want to keep running the place in the same way that the previous owner was doing. And everything worked well with all the employees as well. But yeah, I mean, it was hard for me. For my business partner, I think it wasn't that hard for him because he knew a little bit more on the car side, and he used to flip a lot of cars. He used to buy cars, make them look good, and then sell them. So he knew more about it, and it was good for us, at least at the beginning.
No, that's crazy. And what was it? I mean, how long did it take for you to really feel like you got a grasp uh of things? Was it a couple months? Like you're almost a year in. How do you feel? Do you feel
Yeah,
like you really know the business now, or
I think so. I think I mean, there's a couple things. I'm not a body tech. I'm not a painter. I don't know how to do body work. I don't know how to paint. But if you ask me on the customer side and how to talk to them, how to sell the job, I think I can do it. I feel pretty confident in how the process work. But I don't know how to do body work. I don't know how to do how to paint a car. But I feel pretty confident. I think it took me a couple months, probably 4 or 5 months, to really, really feel confident. But I think now it's easy.
no, that's great. Tell us more, about sort of the pros and cons of, there are a lot of these like auto body shops for sale. So I think a lot of people are really interested in the industry. Tell us about the pros and cons of being an operator.
Yeah, so it requires you a lot of time, if I'm honest with you, and it's a lot of negotiation with the insurance companies. Um, you have to be negotiating with them a lot. I think from a body shop standpoint, if you want to buy a body shop, you need to really, really understand their business model, because there are body shops out there that only focus on restorations, for example. They don't do any like collision repair. They mostly do restorations. There are other body shops out there that only do fleet work. So they don't do like the best quality. They only work with these companies that they have a bunch of cars, and they want something cheap and fast. And there are other body shops that they do quality work. They really, really care about the customers, and that's what I feel we are really good at. And that's one of the other reasons we like this shop, because the owner was really transparent with us, and he was very good at what he did, the kind of work that he was doing. And one thing that we liked also about this job, this body shop, was that they weren't doing any marketing, like any marketing. Everything was word of mouth. And we were like, if we implement marketing in this business, we're gonna have a lot of more of work, because he wasn't doing anything. He hated computers. He was very in the old way, running the shop. So at this point, we're trying to implement more processes, more systems, and get people married with this idea that systems are gonna help us grow. You know, so so yeah, I mean, it's been great, but it's just something we need to go on a day-to-day basis.
And with the current, with your guys' focus, how are you guys acquiring customers? You mentioned you do work with insurance, but you're not just an insurance shop. So
Yeah.
you said it was all word of mouth. Is it just people in the community? This shop has been around a long time, or where are
Yeah.
you guys getting customers?
Yeah, from the beginning, yeah, that was our most our main kind of source of jobs, word of mouth. Then we hired a guy, and he's helping us with SEO, and we also hired another guy that he's doing Google Ads. And that, I feel like we've had a lot of people coming from Google Ads at this point, and that's what have worked a lot. Google Ads, I feel like that's, at least for us, that's the main thing. But one thing that we notice is, if you want people to come back, the best thing you can do is have the best customer service. And that's why we kept our CSR lady. She is the best. Like she is the best at communicating with the customers. She is the best at trying to help them, and they feel very, very happy when they come here and she helps them in the best way. You know, she's awesome. She is the best. And I feel like that's the main thing and the main reason we have work, because we've heard that there's a lot of body shops out there struggling right now. Especially summer is kind of hard for the body shop industry, because you want winter, you want snow, because people get a wreck with their snow on the roads. But on the during the summer is kind of hard. But for those that have a good um, customer service, you're always gonna have work, you know?
So there is a good amount of repeat business then.
Yeah, a lot. And you'll be surprised on how many repeat customers we have on 1 year, how many times they come.
That's
Yeah.
no, that's super interesting. And tell us more about, I guess you're mentioning that Google Ads is working well. Have you been able to grow the business the first year? What does that look like? And where do is your goal to, keep growing it? Like where do you see this going?
Yeah, we've tried. I'll be honest with you, we didn't want to do a lot of changes. So we mostly focus on learning the business, at least for the first year. We want to learn the business and then we can go from there. Yes, we want to grow it, but at this point, it's like, please, like, first learn the
Yes.
business and then you can start making changes. So at this point, we are starting to make changes. We're starting implementing a lot of systems. So that's our main focus right now, because the previous owner was running the business on a very old way. Everything was on paper. I can show you. We have a bunch of paper that we're trying to go paperless, and use more the computers, use more systems, and that's our main thing right now. But at the beginning, I mean, the business uh, kept the same revenue. The previous year was close to 2 million. Last year was close to 2 million. So we're kind of like staying on the same revenue kind of point. So yeah, I mean, we want to grow, but at this point we are focusing more on how can we implement systems that are gonna help us do our work more efficiently and at the same time grow, you know? So that's our main focus right now.
I mean, that's already a win, right? Like year one, you buy a business and it just maintains what it's done.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah.
great. What does your day-to-day look like now?
So right now, I mean, we come to the shop every day. At this point, we hire a couple guys that we're trying to um, put them in place so they can do their do their work without having us here. So at this point, we're kind of like the managers of the shop. We don't do the work itself on the car. I mean, all the process is done already. Like we have people in place. So if I'm honest with you, at this point, we just come in because we want to make sure everyone is doing what they need to do. We're focusing a lot of implementing these processes, these systems, and we're trying to go out there and create a relationship with insurance agents, with other business owners. But we are not like 100% working in the business as right now. We are here, but most of the time I'm looking on through Biz by Sale or calling other business owners, like, but I'm here in the shop.
So you're already thinking about buying another business, it sounds like.
We are. Yeah, we are. We actually are very close to two deals. One is actually down there in Mexico. We want to expand down there in Mexico because we own a construction company down there. So we wanna buy another one down there, and we wanna buy another shop here in the US. So we are hopefully in the couple months we can close one of these two deals. But yeah, we wanna buy another one. Yeah.
And do you feel like you're a couple months away from not even having to go in day to day, or what's your sort of thinking there? Because, if you're buying another business, obviously you can't be sitting in your current one.
Correct, correct. Yeah, so the main thing right now for us is we want to buy a business that we don't need to be there on a day-to-day basis. That's our main thing right now. We want to buy a deal, we want to buy a business that has the people in place, and yes, we can go for a couple weeks, for a couple days, but it doesn't require us to be there, so that's the main thing on acquisition side.
And now that you're in the body shop space, are you excited about the future of the industry? Is it a space that you would recommend others get into, who are looking at auto body shop deals, maybe near them? How do you feel about that?
Yes, I feel like there's a lot of good deals out there if you can find body shops that do quality work. I feel like there's a lot of MSO companies, like big companies that are buying these uh, mom and mom and shop like shops, like these kind of small and independent shops, and most of the owners that they want to exit the shop or the business, they don't want to sell to a big MSO. They want to sell to normal people, like independent guys. So that's the thing. One thing that helped us a lot to close this deal, because the previous owner, had a couple buyers interested in the business, but most of them were big companies. He didn't want to sell to big companies because he knew that these big companies, they don't do the best work, and his name is basically the name of the shop, so he didn't want to um, basically make his name or his reputation go bad. So I mean, yeah, I mean the industry, I feel like it's a good industry. You just need to find the owner that does a quality work and that he doesn't want to sell to a big company. Because it's gonna be hard to compete with these big companies if the shop doesn't do a good work. It's gonna be hard. Because they control the market basically at this point, at least here in Utah. So just make sure that the business and the shop does quality work.
And how would you evaluate that? Like, if you're in diligence and you're trying to figure out, does the shop do quality work? Like, what's the best way to figure that out?
If I didn't know anything about the industry, one thing that I would do is hire a consultant, someone that has experience in the body shop industry, that can come in, look at the work, see if the work is quality work or not, tells you what exactly you're gonna need on the deal, on the management side, and then um, go from there. I wouldn't buy a deal again without having someone with a little bit more experience, because it's tough. It's tough.
No, that's super interesting. And going back to your point about the MSOs, I think a common misconception too from first time buyers is that like you're always going to be competing with private equity. And it's while that's true, there are a lot of sellers who do not want to sell to big
Wow.
companies, private
Mm,
equity. And I think people don't realize that you actually have an advantage as an
yep.
independent
Yep.
individual.
You
So
you do. Yeah, you do. And if you do quality work, and if you take care of your customers, that's something I think the big companies lack a lot of. Because for a big company, a new customer is just, I have a lot of customers, so I'm not gonna take care a lot of him. But when you only have one shop, and everything that you do um, depends on that customer, you're gonna take care of him 110%.
yeah, no, 100%. And what are some of the new deals you're looking at that have been exciting?
Yeah, we're actually looking at another body shop. It's another body shop in Colorado. We're looking at that shop. It's a shop. It's kind of like close to the same size as the one that we own right now, a little bit smaller, but it's kind of the same. And the other one is automation company. It's kind of interesting. So that company focus on well, it's a B2B business. It's a B2B company, and they help these big companies building all the processes with robots and all the equipment that they need to automate one process. So they mostly work with companies doing parts for cars, basically in the
Oh,
automotive industry. So they help these companies to build all the process with a big machine so this machine can do everything from starting the product to finish, the product. So that's basically what this company focus is, more like a technology, automotive, automation company. But it's down there in Mexico, this one. So hopefully we can close that one as well.
No, that's exciting for the other shops in the US. How are you going to or planning on financing these future deals?
We've had a lot of people reaching out to us like, hey, I want to invest on your deals. So I think on this next deal, we're gonna use on our own capital, and we're probably gonna raise a little bit of money. But we are trying to not going through the SBA route. We're trying to stay away from it if we can. If not, we can pursue that route. But we would love to close deals with our own capital, and if we can raise money through investors, we will do that as well.
What was your experience like going down the SBA process the first time? What's causing you to maybe think twice this time?
Is like just the risk. I feel like the defaults are going, like the default rates are going high, and I feel like having a personal warranty on a deal, at least for us, is not something that we want to have on every deal. So I think that's the main thing. Also, if we can find a deal that we don't need the SBA, I feel that we can close faster,
Yeah.
than if we go through the SBA. So I think that's the main reason.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, I want to be sensitive of time, but any sort of final words of wisdom for first-time buyers out there that are maybe where you were 2 years ago, let's say.
Yeah. Do not put 1% down on a deal. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I'm glad that the business is doing well, but I feel like it's a lot of leverage. And if that's the only way that you can get into the game, into the business acquisition game, if you want to go that route and you can put 1% down and that's all you have, I mean, it's okay if you want to do it. But if you can, put more money down, because it's going to save you a lot of headache. It's going to save you a lot of being worried about how you're going to be able to make the payment. And because you have personal warranty, if you go through the SBA road, it's going to be tough. So, I mean, if you're young, 25, 20 years old, and you want to buy a business and you don't have money, and you find a deal like us, like the one that we found, and the bank is giving you the opportunity to put 1% down, think twice about doing it. Try to find more money and put more money down, because it's gonna reduce a lot of the risk that is involved in that deal. But keep looking. Don't feel that because of your age you're not gonna be able to find a deal. You can. It's just a matter of finding the right people, the right bank, the right investors, the right deal, and everything is gonna work out if you keep working on it and keep focusing on what you want to accomplish.
No, that's fantastic advice. How long? I'm curious. How long did it take you from start to finish for your first deal when you started looking all the way
I
to
think I took like a year, probably, from the day that we start looking to the day that we close the deal. I think it was like a year. I think it took us like 9 months to find the business, the shop that we want to buy. And then it took us like probably like 3 more months or 4 months to close the deal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Andres, thank you so much for your time again today. If people want to reach out, by the way, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on Twitter or on Instagram. I can send you my links, and you can just put them somewhere in the
Yeah, sounds great.
episode, and they can find me and reach out to me. I'm an open book. I'm willing to ask to respond to any questions if I have the answer. If not, I can probably find someone like you, Helen, that you're the expert in this area, and you can help them. No.
Well, thank you so much for your
Oh,
time
thank you. I
today.
really appreciate it. Thank you,
This is
Helen.
this is super fun. Give us a little 360 tour of you're in the
Yeah,
office, right?
sure. So this is the shop. I actually brought this mic
Love it.
for the podcast, but it didn't work. So hopefully you can hear me well. So yeah,
No, we can hear you great.
so yeah, this is the main entrance. That's where the customers um come in, and in the back we have the shop.
Love it. Well, thank you for the tour, the little tour, and excited to continue following your journey. And I know we kind of met serendipitously, so excited to keep following along. And thank you for
Yeah,
your
I
time today
appreciate it.
again.
Yeah, you're awesome. You're awesome. Thank you so much for this time.
Yeah, let's stay in touch. Thanks
Yeah,
so much.
yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.